9:45 in the morning on a beautiful Thursday, March 27th, 2025. I'm at Sinking Spring, Pennsylvania on the NS Harrisburg Line. Gonna spend the day catching NS trains and hopefully get some newly rerouted CSX trains through here. And if I'm lucky, maybe I can get the East Penn job going into Reading and going back down to Ephrata. That would be nice. Here we have a piece of maintenance equipment heading west. And 9:55 a.m. Gates are down, but more maintenance equipment. That horn reminded me of a Caltrain F40. Brings back happy memories of sunny California. Listen to that sound. That's a... I was beginning to feel unlucky. It's 10:45 a.m. I missed M371 with the CSX reroute from Philadelphia to Cumberland and a 65V and ethanol empty out of Linden to Chicago. But the East Penn is running, and that's spotty. You have to be very lucky to get this. Here comes the East Penn job with 2801 GP38-2. Question is, how long will he have to sit here before NS will allow him on the Harrisburg line? Sometimes he's waited as much as 3 hours. Looks like the conductor's going to get out and set the switch up ahead. Yeah, listen to that locomotive hum. GP38-3, original CSX, original C&O, GP38. Just waiting for the electric lock timer to engage so he can get out on the main. And here he goes. Finally got the go-ahead to head east. He has trackage rights on NS to Reading. He'll drop off cars and pick up cars, and this afternoon he should be coming back. That prime 920 horn sounds really cool, really forceful. This was originally a C&O GP38 number 3856 built in 1967. There are several industries on the East Penn Railroad branch down to Ephrata. Several that require lumber for building materials. They bring loads in and take the empties out. He'll drop off his empties and pick up loads and head back to the branch down towards Ephrata. Train. This is NS train 65T, which runs out of Port Richmond in Philadelphia to Decatur, Illinois. It's a train of ethanol empties. And the leader was a uncommon white-browed C44-9W. Many of them have been converted to AC44 C6Ms. Train was by at 11:50. That's the first NS train I've seen in a little over 2 hours that I've been here. Westbound 1203. This is a loaded ballast train. Note the fancy ballast hoppers. This is train 98Z, an unusual symbol on the Harrisburg line. It carries ballast from Dyer, Pennsylvania down to Newport, Tennessee in the Crescent Corridor. At first I thought this train was NS Local H99, but that usually runs with 4-axle power. H99 takes ballast to Millard's, where Wimpy Minerals is located. Got another westbound at 1234. They're all using track number 2 today. There's track equipment west of here on number 1. Well, here's old reliable NS train 29G, arguably the hottest westbound on the Harrisburg line. Used to be called 21M. Comes out of Croxton Yard in New Jersey and heads to 47th Street Yard in Chicago. And there's also considerable traffic heading to the west coast on the BNSF. And catching me by surprise is westbound train 21W en route from the port of Newark, New Jersey to Ashland Avenue Yard in Chicago, where it will transfer to the BNSF and become BNSF Z NYC LAC 4. Carries mostly steamship company containers. At 10 minutes to 2, the East Penn job is back from Reading. That's a cool horn. Union Pacific used to have horns like that back in the day. I believe that's a prime 920 horn. NS is kind of boring with the power today, and it's early, so I think I'll give this train a chase as far as I can go. We're in Mountain Home Road in Sinking Spring as he starts down the branch. You'll notice the lumber loads on them. They're going down to Weyerhaeuser and to A.B. Martin. These are building material companies located on the branch. The East Penn Railroad is owned by Regional Rail LLC, and they own about a dozen other regional rail lines in the country. Their headquarters is in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. On the East Penn Railroad's Lancaster Northern Division, there's a second locomotive that is sometimes used. It's an ex-Susquehanna GP18 number 1802, now East Penn Railroad 1802. That engine has the day off today. Around Fritztown now, managed to get ahead of it after a tractor trailer blocked the road for several minutes. Chasing this train was quite easy. The road from Sinking Spring south to Ephrata closely follows the tracks, and the line has a lot of curvature, plus the train's slow speed makes it quite easy to get ahead of the train and get numerous shots. An easy chase. We're at Shearer's Road crossing. You can hear them coming. This portion from Sinking Spring to Ephrata is part of what was once the Reading and Columbia branch of the Reading Company. There's a gap between Ephrata and Lidditz, and the Lidditz secondary makes up the remainder of that Reading and Columbia track down to Lancaster, and then it heads down to the Susquehanna River at Columbia, Pennsylvania. We're at the Mill Road crossing in Reinholds. At this location, we crossed the county line from Berks County into Lancaster County. The East Penn Railroad has many divisions throughout the state. This is the Lancaster Northern Division. This used to be owned by Conrail, and prior to that, the Reading Company. You're looking at the historic Reinholds Inn. It was an old railroad hotel, now a restaurant. It was built way back in 1864. The tan building to the left of the hotel is the headquarters for the Lancaster Northern inside that old Civil War era Reading station similar to the one at Mertztown. This powerful sounding Prime 920 horn was manufactured in 1972 by the Prime Manufacturing Company. It was their version of a Leslie S3L horn. There aren't too many horns like this on American railroads today. This is the Ridge Road crossing south of Reynolds, north of Denver. This is Miller Road on the outskirts of Denver, Pennsylvania. As you can see, chasing this train is pretty easy. The railroad's customers are pretty much between feed mills and building supply companies located throughout Denver, Stevens, and Ephrata. Not exactly Class 1 railroading. We're now in downtown Denver, Pennsylvania, in Lancaster County. Traffic in this town doesn't have to stop very often for trains, but they do pretty soon. The last passenger train to serve Denver, Pennsylvania was back in November of 1950. Or further south in Stevens, Pennsylvania, by the Stevens feed mill. Yeah, it smells good here. I've never been this far south on the East Penn Ephrata branch. Oh, here comes the train at Stevens. Oh man, this feed mill smells great. It smells a little bit like Parmesan cheese, if you can believe that. Train's run will end a little ways further down in Ephrata off of Garden Spot Road. The train actually beat me there, believe it or not. He dropped off his last car. Up north is Weyerhaeuser Industries. Hey, we're down at Garden Spot Road in Ephrata as the train has just arrived. A.B. Martin Building Supplies is here. All right, he's backed up. He set off his last car, which is a lumber car. And he's going to back into the siding here, the spur for A.B. Martin. Well, we'll see him back the rest of his train into the spur at A.B. Martin Building Supplies, and then we'll say farewell to this great chase of the East Penn Railroad through the scenic countryside of Berks County and Lancaster County. It's going to flag the crossing. Back at Sinking Spring at 4:34. Here comes 11J, Doremus Avenue, Newark to Detroit. NS Train 11J's function is to bring empty auto racks back to Michigan from the Doremus Avenue, Newark, New Jersey auto compound. The loaded autos go east on train 18N. GE junk at both ends. As I walked out from dinner at Jimmy G's Railroad House restaurant, this eastbound passed by, and you'll note the lovely K5 LLA horn. This is NS Train 38G from Conway Yard, Pittsburgh to Abrams Yard just west of Philadelphia. This train had 214 cars. It's a train mainly loaded with empty steel guns, loaded chemical cars, and manifest traffic. And earlier in the day, a 39G from Abrams Yard to Conway Yard went through with 197 cars. And a member of the Harrisburg Line East Facebook page told me that a 38G last week had 270 cars. That's insane. I remember the Norfolk and Western back in the early 1960s ran a coal train with 450 cars. Wow. Yay, an EMD. That second DPU is a 4,500 horsepower SD70 ACC. Notice the many fairly new graffiti-free NS gondola cars. Those are empties. They normally carry steel products going west. But the tank cars on this train are loads for the Camden Chemical Coast area in New Jersey. God, what a gigantic train that was. He must have had at least 200 cars. Man.